everyone. I'm Cynthia J, President of Shabbat Ministries Incorporated, and thank you for joining us today at our SMI Careers Connections. This program is designed for people who are actually looking at new employment or perhaps looking at changing a career. And even if you haven't been employed for a while, this show is just going to be a great benefit to you. First, before we get started, I just want to put a plug in that on May 20th, Tuesday, May 20th, 2025, Shabak will be hosting our career fair. That will be held at the Ministry Center, FBCG, First Baptist Church of Glenarden, Career Fair at our Ministry Center, 3600 Bright Seat Road in Landover, Maryland, 20785. We would love for you to join us there. We have over 100 people that have already signed up to join us. And if you could join us, it would be such a great blessing and privilege for us and for you, I pray. So, right now, we're going to get started, and I would like to, first of all, let you know that I have two very special guests with me today. And so, if I act up, it's because they're my special guests. The first guest I'm going to introduce to you is Miss Kyara Jackson. She is the Director of Talent Acquisition for Treetop. Did I say that right?
Treehouse.
Treehouse. I always call
Yes.
it Treetop.
Treehouse foods, yes.
I got Treetop written down. Treehouse Foods.
Yes, yes.
Treehouse Foods. So I'm going to let you tell them, first of all, sort of your career path,
Mhm.
where you've been, what you've done, and then we'll go to what you're doing now, and then I'll introduce my other special guest, and I'm going to have her just send in the chat the name of her company before I mess it up. Okay.
All right. Hello, everyone. As my mother Mary stated, I'm Kyara Jackson, and I'm the Director of Talent Acquisition at Treehouse Foods at this time. My background, I have been in recruitment for a little less than 10 years. I started out as an intern focused on sourcing, which is almost like the back end process of recruiting. I targeted individuals and was able to move talent through pipelines in order to secure first conversations for recruiters who would do a little bit more digging on backgrounds and profiles and things like that. I started that position after I received my bachelor's degree in human resource management. And from there, I just have had a multitude of roles, from being a full-fledged sourcer to leading a team of sourcers to then moving to a hybrid position of like recruiter and leader, and then finally to a talent leader myself. And so I started in an agency space where I worked on about 35 plus accounts over the span of 3 years, really learning about the industries and integrating myself as though I was a member of the organizations that I was servicing. And then from there, with the leading, I would lead teams that would do the same thing. Right now, in my current role, I work directly with Treehouse Foods, so I'm no longer with agency. And so I support the internal initiative to be a talent leader in our industry marketplace, which is the food and beverage manufacturing and distribution as a private label. So what we do is my team is we manage all recruiting, both hourly and salaried roles for Treehouse and our currently 27 plants. So, what I have always focused on is basically putting together puzzle pieces, right? So you need the perfect person with the team, with the organization, making sure that they all lined up for long-term success for both not only just the organization, but for the person who was within their career as well.
Wow. I think I learned a couple of things then. Um, my daughter. Kiara's my daughter. She grew up in First Baptist Church of Glen Arden. She is on the West Coast. She's in Spokane, Washington. And later on, I'm going to ask her to go in depth about a couple of things that she said in her introduction so that we can get a better understanding of some of the different kinds of vehicles you can use to get maybe to the career you're seeking. Next, I would love to introduce Miss Patience Thomas. She's like a daughter too. I've known her for quite a while through my daughter because they work together, and now even though they work at different companies, they are still very closely knit together. Patience is the wait a minute, I wrote it down. Patience is the recruiter operations manager for Cummins. Is that right?
Cummins.
Commons. Okay, that's what I said. Commons.
Yeah.
Could you tell us about yourself?
Yes, well, I don't know if I can follow Kira because she really, I mean, elegance. She really, really shared a lot. So I will say that I started in HR and many, many years ago. I like how she said less than 10 years, but mine is many, many years ago. And I started in HR and recruiting in manufacturing in a small plant while I was attending school. And I went to school for marketing, which has helped me, I think, because in the recruitment industry, you really are selling, right? Like you're selling applicants, candidates on a position, on a company, and then you're also selling that hiring manager on a candidate as well. It really is, twofold, right? So I started there and then I just progressed working in, the private sector as well, working supporting companies, but also worked in agency, like Kira mentioned, and had a lot of success working in the agency setting, where I did a dual role working for, companies such as Randstad, Adecco, Kelly Services as well, where I would go out and attract businesses for their positions. And then I would also staff those positions with temporary employees as well as full-time. And I was able to partner with one company and obtain a contract where I actually grew the business to actually have a on-site role. And so I sat on site and then I pretty much was their vendor of choice. And then I took a new position and head up a director level role supporting an organization where I partnered with a lot of procurement individuals. And there is where I really learned that I probably went into the wrong industry. I should have went into procurement and purchasing because negotiations is something that I really enjoy. And so I think that knowing that where you find your passion is something that will help you find the perfect position for you, because if you're passionate about what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life. So
Mhm.
like here I mentioned that puzzle piece building, really finding the perfect match is something that I thrive in, and I love being in that recruitment space because you really are able to help people in a way that, like a doctor, right? They're saving lives. Like that's really life changing. I find that being in recruitment, although we're not saving someone's life in the essence that a doctor is, really recruiting is changing people's lives in a huge way. So I found myself back working in what we call is RPO, which is I'm branded as Cummins, but I actually am back working for Kelly. And so I manage a team that supports Cummins, which is a company that manufactures the diesel engine. So if you think about your school bus, your garbage truck, your semi truck, they are the manufacturers of that diesel engine. So my team does the recruitment for full-time positions for over 40 plants in the United States and in Canada. And then I also have a team that supports 180 branches that does the sales and service. So if you think about an automotive dealership, that back office that services your automotive car when you go in, the sales and service actually services the garbage trucks, the cranes, the high-lows, and things of that nature. So I've been with them for almost 4 years. And so I have a team now. It's kind of dwindled from like 50 or so recruiters, and we're down to probably about 20, right? Because we're seeing a lot of shifts within the industry. But it's something that I love doing every day because we are really, in essence, changing people's lives every day in a positive way.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you both. You have just shared your backgrounds. Patience. Did you say RPO? Is that what you said?
Mhm.
What is that?
So it's when a company, like say Kira's company, wanted to maybe outsource their recruitment process. So say Kira said, I don't want the headache of managing a bunch of recruiters, and I want to be able to maybe scale, right? Maybe I don't know what my true forecast is for hiring this year versus next year. If they partner with a company such as Kelly, we would actually embed a team of recruiters, and then that way they could scale up their team, scale down their team without having to really take on the cost of hiring and a team of recruiters and things of that nature.
And
So we would
developing the talent.
brand as Treehouse, but we
Mhm.
would actually be Treehouse recruiters. So we take on that talent acquisition
Role.
role.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you for explaining that. The other thing you said that really grabbed me because it's something I say as well. I do strength finders, and I tell people if they find what they were created to do, they would
Mhm.
never work a day in their lives because
Mhm.
they would do what they are created to do and be happy doing it. And I've never heard anyone else say that before. Thank you. You and I, we're there. We are right there because I truly believe that a lot of people go to work and hate what they're doing, and it shows. And
Mhm.
then
It does.
if something else is what you love to do, maybe it's little league football or something, then that job gives you the opportunity to do what you love to do. So it changes your perspective on the job. Thank you, ladies. I know also Patience is in Michigan. You're there?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna come up there. Kiara and I, we're gonna run with you for a little while in Michigan.
She's
Then there's
supposed to
no
come in
snow.
July.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
She's supposed
We
to
got
come in
plans.
July.
Oh, July. Okay. All right. I'm on
Come
notice.
on with me.
Right.
You know you don't want me to tag along with y'all, but it's okay. I have some questions, and I believe that they're the questions that the people who will be viewing our webinars really have on their hearts, or they could be already experiencing. One of those things, first of all, is that there's a shift in the way that people have been hiring or, get onboarding or looking for jobs or not looking for jobs to the way it's right now. Could you tell us about what's happened or what we're experiencing right now, what people were accustomed to, but where are they right now?
Now, Patience, you want to start that?
Patience?
Okay. I think what I see a shift in is, well, I'll take it way back, is, you know, especially in the industry where I feel like I support or have the most exposure, is a lot of times people are accustomed to that paper application process
Mhm.
and having that face-to-face interaction and that immediate gratification for feedback.
Mhm.
And so even in some of the plants that I support, we're even hearing from some of our plant leaders that they miss that as well. But because of the centralization of hiring and recruitment, right, a lot of the virtual that a lot of people want to have, right, as far as their option to work, that cuts that down for the actual applicants, right? Because now I could be a virtual recruiter supporting a plant that is in, Maryland, like yourself, right? But I'm in Michigan. And so where you're trying to go in and apply for a job, guess what? I'm sitting in Michigan. So you don't
Mhm.
have that access to me. And so that online access is really a disconnect. And so I know that that's one thing where we hear a lot of that. And so we all think because we sit at a computer all day that that accessibility is there for a lot of our candidate pool, and it's really not. And that it's just not. It does shorten that talent pool, and it also causes I feel like a lot of frustration as well.
Yeah. To piggyback on that, I think with the automation of processes that a lot of companies use, right? So like Patience is talking about, the distance and the disconnect and not having that personal connection or ability to engage. You also now bring in, I mean, 5, 6 years ago, we got really robust systems behind the scenes that help us kind of analyze resumes and things like that. But it still had a human element to it where we weren't relying on systems to make decisions for us. Now, with the inclusion of things like AI into those same softwares that were already scaling down our talent pool for us, you have something that doesn't have that human review piece, right? And so it's literally looking for keywords. It's looking for, I mean, it looks for what you tell it to look for, but the whole purpose of it is to move quickly, to move fast, right? And so there's some things that if I were to personally review a resume, I might not look at just what they're doing currently. I'll look at what they used to do. I'll look at how long they did it, things that I would have to very manually tell AI to look for. And some companies don't take the time or have the resources, the people resources in order to tailor the AI systems to give them, those types of things. So that scales down as well. And I feel like applicants can feel that, right? To patient's
Mhm.
point, there's no one that you can just call. There's no one that you can go see. There's no one that you can appeal to after the fact, it's these systems that are really cutting things down. So I think that is definitely something that's a challenge that's newer as well.
So AI,
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole new ball game in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's Dr. Willie Jolly who said AI is not going to take your job. The person who knows how to use AI
Mm-hmm.
better than you do
Mm-hmm.
will be taking your job. So, do you find that in some instances, some people are not abreast or keeping abreast of more technology? And that may be, discounting or, not causing their resume to rise to the top.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Absolutely. You think about LinkedIn and how much of a powerhouse LinkedIn is. I have to be in LinkedIn every day, essentially for work. Don't really like it too, right? Like it's not easy, right? As more people start to join the platform, more people start to understand it, I think even better than I do, right? It's that piece that really is hard to navigate through, right? Especially if it's not something that you have to be in every day. So
Right.
it's things like that that kind of add to it. I also want to touch on, what is a trend in recruitment for 2025 is a need for gray collar jobs. So a lot of people don't know what gray collar jobs are. It's almost like an intermediary between white collar and blue collar. So you're looking for people who have a skill set and have the ability or the propensity to go do things hands-on, but also have a knowledge and understanding of technologies, of systems. So you think gray collar workers are like logistics automation or IT specialists. So it's like you have to have a certain understanding that's technologically based, but then also you're doing things more hands-on. And so this is an underpopulated segment that came about from, the boomer generation retiring, and then Gen Z being more focused on, degreed positions, more white collar, and there being a lack of tradesmen and people who are going to trade school and things like that. So it's just a change, right? And the need to have both essentially is really grown in just across job industries in 2025. So I'm sure you see a lot of that patients too, like more of that
Right,
need for
right.
either like trade workers or gray collar workers in the environments that you guys are currently servicing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the one thing that saves a little bit of the gap in the workforce a little bit is oftentimes people follow the jobs that their parents have done. So there's a little bit of that, like that repeat, you know, right? Typically people fall in those footsteps, right? But there is. I remember when my first client, you know, and I was trying to find fabricators, and the fabricators that were working there were in their 60s and 70s. And this was like 15 years ago. And even then, that was before TikTok, right? Even then, it was hard to find people that were interested in that. And a fabricator was a very skilled position. It was highly sought after, right? These were people that were fabricating the conveyor systems for the BMW plants, right? We're not going to stop driving cars, right? We're going to want those cars, but we are going to have to find a way to change, right? The automation that we even use in the application process is the same type of automation that we're going to have to use in order to build some of the technologies that we are using in the manufacturing sector and the business or whatnot, because the humans are not wanting to, you know, we're not using them the same way. It's the same thing. And so then you hear a lot of the feedback that, well, the robots are taking over the jobs everywhere. Well, unfortunately, they are, but that's because the shift. So it is something that, you know, I wish that, you know, a lot of what I hear is we have to do a better job of capturing our talent at a younger age, and starting to not just get in at the high school level, but start to get in at the middle school level, because we need to start grooming. And so that's why I say, like, people following the trades or whatnot with their children. And unfortunately, we do see such a gap in households as well. So it's like this, you know, platform and getting more exposure is something that is so important. Like, I think about camps and things of that nature. Like, we send our kids to summer camps, but if some of those camps could even get into some of these industries that we do start to see the gaps in, it would be such a way to really, because we do see what coding camps, right? But like, are we taking our kids to, right, carpentry camps and, you know, skilled trade camps? No. We
No.
only think about technology.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Thank you. You hit a number of things. First of all, I'm glad you explained what a fabricator was, because I was like, is that a person who makes up lies? No, I understand now. They
It
work
could
on
be,
the.
because I mean, we had some of those. I could tell you
Oh,
a story
okay.
about that,
Okay.
but
But that's really interesting because I grew up, or Kiara grew up in Giant Food because I worked in Giant, okay? But most of the people there had three and four generations. We had newsletters where we would show the generations of people who worked for Giant. And then I said I did not want my child to work for Giant, and I was almost stoned. But I didn't. I wanted her to do something that was near and dear to what she was created to do. Not everybody is into that, but no, who thinks about who's putting together the cars these days? Actually, you think maybe that's being done out of the country. So are we driving things out of the country because we don't have enough people to feed the pipeline in doing them, do you think?
I 100% think that, you know, you hear a lot of people in their comments about a lot of different things, but I think I was at physical therapy, and I am in the process of getting a new car because my lease is up. And so I was thinking, like, oh, I gotta go get this car. And even though the tariffs have not been put in place as of yet on the vehicles, I didn't think about people are like buying unnecessarily
Oh yeah.
because they want to capture it before. So, but they are. And my nephew is a car, he's like, no, a bunch of people are buying ahead because they're trying to consume. So that's then causing the supply demand change, right? But I think that they've dropped, you know, we wanted to get cheap labor, so we went outside, and then we get mad at the cost that then we have to pay. So I just think that the foresight of people is just so, you know, they get mad like the robots take over, but like there's different ways that people want to get revenue, right? Like the influencers, right? They're getting now, they get another, like it's different, like the immediate pay from some of these other companies. Like you can go and get this, you can go work at Burger King, get the same day pay, right? Like you can go work at UPS, get the same day pay. That makes those jobs even more competitive for someone else that has to work 40 hours and wait till the next Friday to get their check. So it's just like, how do you attract that audience? Just as much as how we have to think about how we can get people to apply and support that workforce. It's also as employers, right? Kyra can tell you, like, there's so many challenges that an employer has to think about in order to get the right candidates in there too, because there's so much competition. And now I will say that the job market has shifted, right, since I think January, but there's so much more than a paycheck to put into play nowadays in the job market. Mm-hmm.
Mm. You know, that's food for thought because I don't think I can ask for same day pay where I work. I had never heard of same day pay before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to talk to Pastor Jenkins. I don't think he's going to go for it, but that's a marvelous thing right there, same day pay.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that such an animal even existed. Not only is it existing, but it's creating competition for those other places that aren't offering same day pay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for that. One of the other things that I don't know, one of you was talking about, I think it was Kiara, talking about the gray laborer.
Gray
There's
collar
blue
workers.
collar, there's white
Mhm,
collar,
mhm.
and then there's gray.
Yeah.
So if you look, both of you are looking at the jobs to fill right now. Where would they fall in the blue, white, or gray? Are
Mhm.
the majority of the jobs still white collar jobs, blue collar jobs, gray collar jobs? Where is it?
Um, there is there's significant competition right now for white collar jobs. It's more blue collar and gray collar where they have deficiencies, more or less for the reasons that I was saying, right? More people are getting degrees and then they want to get something that is best utilizing those degrees, right?
Mhm.
And you think about, I think about maybe 10 years ago, I was like, oh my goodness, in 10 years, everybody's going to have a master's degree because everybody's getting master's degrees now, and they're going to have a master's degree just to be competitive. But I was wrong. And it was really a turn around the time of COVID, right? Where you had what we call the Great Resignation, where people were leaving their jobs and they were changing industries and they were getting certifications. And a lot of people started looking for work from home jobs. And so now people have a different standard through which that they're looking for jobs, and they're not realizing, or, it's not heavily communicated that really these blue and gray collar industries now are so understaffed that you can, I mean, I think there are things, even thinking through trade and stuff like that, that are offering like $30 an hour, $40 an hour, just because they don't have anyone that can do these things. And some of these type of roles only takes like a year of trade school. You think about like HVAC, plumbing, electricity, things like that. Right now, my job is split, or my teams are recruiting for both plant resources and center base, so like our roles that report into headquarters. And when I tell you we have 2 or 3 times more roles open at the plant for supervisor level roles, because it's so challenging to find someone in middle management that is more gray collar. They understand how to put an Excel sheet together, but they can also go on the floor and give hands-on instruction to the people who are really powering these plants. It's a challenge. It's a challenge. So it's definitely that blue and gray collar segment that is in heavy need right now for bodies, for people to staff.
So is it safe to say that gray collar jobs are six figures?
Oh yeah. Yes.
Really?
Mhm. Mhm.
Patience, are you seeing the same thing?
I am. I think that the ability to work overtime, I think we're seeing a little bit of a gap right now because of the tariffs, right? I think
Right,
that
right.
the manufacturing, like people are scared, right? Right now, I think within the program that I support at Cummins, like I would say probably 60% of my manufacturing plants are kind of on a pause freeze because they're a little bit more hesitant because
Mm-hmm.
they're kind of filling out the industry that they support, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yes, it is amazing the amount of money and the players, right, that are in it. Like where we think of people who work in the automotive industry here in Michigan, right? We got the big three. Like it's different. Like it is just it's different. Like a skilled trade position, you know, and then think about it like this. I always tell young people, um, you can go to school in a year and you could be making, you start your career, you're making more money for that person going to school. Now, again, if this is your passion, the person who's in college for 8, 9, 10 years with all that debt, you're making more money for them by year 2 or 3, 4 as they are as a doctor, right? Think
Yeah.
about that, right? We often hear kids say, you know, when I grow up, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, because society has put in their mind that those are the career paths that bring success. And
Mhm.
so that's where I think we have to look at that rainbow differently
Mhm.
because the rainbow is different now. It is like, what's the gold at the end of it? Like, it's different.
Yeah.
There are so many different nuggets there. Like I said, if
Mhm.
I would have known what I knew in my, maybe I was in my late, maybe I was mid 30s in procurement, that is the industry that I would have went to because I like to negotiate. Kira can take, like I'm a little bit feisty, so I would have been in there. Because it would have, I love what I do, but I'm saying like it would have fed a different part of my brain, right? And so it's very lucrative. You could travel. It's just a lot of things. And I don't think there's as much exposure. But I think
Mhm.
the way that you look at blue collar, we in our minds, we adopt certain things that we think, oh, it's dirty, is that hard, we're never gonna get out of debt, we're gonna live check to check. These people aren't living check to check.
Mhm.
It's just a different mindset that we have to retrain the
Yeah.
future.
Mhm.
So I think that's a great segue. Thank you so much for that. You guys are just giving us a lot of great information. Thank you so much. I would like to segue into people who may be at a point in their lives that they want to change careers. So, can we talk about how challenging that may be, how easy that may be? Kiara, you talked about LinkedIn. Is that a place that you can start talking about your skills rather than your past jobs and patience? I would say that there are people who maybe never even thought about be an electrician or those that maybe they don't know how much they make first of all in doing that. So can we talk about people who may want to change careers and consider some people who may be coming out of federal government and who have been in federal government 20 or 30 years? They are still not old enough to retire if they started at an early age, and how they might change careers.
Okay, so yes. First, I have to put my recruiter cap on and give a little disclaimer when it comes to when you're looking to change industries, positions, anything like that. From my recruiter heart, please read these job descriptions. Okay.
Okay.
Look at the
Okay.
skills, look at the qualifications. Because when I tell you, and I'm sure it happens to patients team too, we get hundreds of applications on one role, right? 25% might actually be qualified, right? Because people read a title, they say, oh, I would love to do that, but they don't look at the skill set and they don't look at the leveling and they don't do research. So I think at the core of making some type of change, you got to do your research. You have to understand where this job is in the hierarchy of need, in the hierarchy of the organization, what bubbles into this role. So if this does sound like something interesting to you, what is the level before that, right? And of course, your bills are your bills, right? So if you already are established as in your career, you might have to consider, okay, it might be a pay cut. What type of cut am I comfortable with? And generally, the internet is your best resource. There are so many things there. I will say for those specifically coming out of federal government, remember onetonline.org. ONET online.org. ONET Online, I was introduced to as an intern. When I needed to work in a new industry, they would tell me to look up the position in ONET because ONET gives you all of the skills that that job title requires. What types of degrees, what types of certifications, what day-to-day looks like. And then it tells you comparable positions with different titles in different industries. I mean, just a wealth of knowledge and information. And it was at first created for veterans to have an understanding because they have like codes for their jobs. They don't have traditional job titles to understand what skills that they could bring to the table and then how they could be used in other roles and things like that. So I think, I mean, federal government, absolutely, but anyone could really stand to gain from that website and understanding what skills that they currently have, because you don't think about the things that you do today to day. You just do them, right? Like, I don't think about, my attention to detail. I just have to have it, right? So am I putting that on my resume? And that's something that I literally have to do day in and day out? Maybe not, because I'm not thinking about it, right? So that is something that I think when you're looking to transition, you really need to do your research. Don't apply for things that have nothing to do with what, with your skill set, or, make sure that those things are in your resume. Cause like I said, AI is cutting people down, right? So make sure that those things are presented and just, be mindful and intentional with what you're doing.
That's great. I'm going to go to onetonline.org.
Mm-hmm.
onetonline.org.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I may not be looking for a job, but I swear.
Just to see.
Patience. Yeah, I know. I know. I may check my value.
Yeah.
Patience.
I would say you should play up your soft skills, right? I think that a lot of times that we don't think about the soft skills that actually are something that add value to any position. So think about your soft skills. I know that also think about, I had a friend who I went to school with. She was in marketing and recruiting. She graduated with her marketing degree, business degree. She found herself displaced. She actually lived in the state of Texas and she was on unemployment. And there was a program while in the state of Texas, right? They got a lot of programs in Texas. I'm not sure why, but in Texas, they allowed her to, while she collected unemployment, get a second bachelor's degree. And so she went into nursing. So I would tell you to look at your resources because there might be, while you're on unemployment, there could be additional resources to get some additional training and certifications. So I know a lot of states have that workforce service program. So look before you dig into your purse or your pocket, look to see if there are additional grants or programs that will pay for additional trainings that will add that value to you. But I would say look at your soft skills. Don't be afraid to not embellish, but think about you as a person, what you do in your home, what you do in your community, what you do in activities outside of your normal 9 to 5, and play those up on your skill sets when you build your resume out. And I will tell you, when I have interviewed for leadership positions before, the one of the things that I have shared is, maybe I haven't led a team of this size, but if I'm flying an airplane, it doesn't matter if there's one person on it or 10 on it.
Mm.
At the end of the day, safety is safety, right? So
Right.
you have to be able to, um, pivot and use what you have done to make it fit that, right? So this is where you take the square and the circle and you put it together. This is where you have to get creative. And I feel like, like Kiera said, now you can't go and try to be a doctor. Some things you're not gonna be able to stretch it, but you do have to be able to be a salesperson for yourself and advocate. But again, make sure that you have some transferable skills. You may not check all the boxes, but you have to go in and sell yourself and be positive, and advocate. But I think using soft skills, and I think people, myself included, as a hiring manager, we look for grit. And I
Mhm.
think that a lot of things are teachable and coachable, but
Mhm.
grit is something I would hire for every day because Kira and I know we've had a lot of people who come in and check every skill set, but they don't have that grit.
So explain grit.
Um, if
Tenacity, what?
grit is something that if I give you a task
Mhm.
and you're like, maybe I don't understand it, but you try your best. You ask questions, you
I
seek
got you.
direction. You
Mhm.
don't belly ache, you don't whine. You think about a kid who you say, I need you to clean your room,
Oh,
and they just lay on the floor and squabble away. Like a kid that gets in there and tries their best. They may have their shoes on top of the bed and everywhere, but they have tried their best to get that room cleaned up. It may look a chaotic mess, but they did what they needed to try their best. Like that's that grit. And then you come
mhm.
in there, you can kind of help them reset it. But they tried, they put their
Mhm.
effort in. That effort is what grit is. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Sounds like my granddaughter. My granddaughter got a lot of grit. Man, she's gonna get it done. She is going to get it done. But when I'm thinking about that, I look at people who are like lackadaisical on the job. I
Mhm.
mean, it's they walk slow and
Mhm.
you ask them to do something, and if you wonder if they're going to move because they take so long to do it, at
Mhm.
least act like
Mhm.
you're going to get it done. I think that is a great word for people to at least internalize because it shows that you do want the job. It
Mhm.
really, really does. So thank you for that. I'm
Right.
learning a lot. And you said it was a work first grant program in some states that people may
Well,
ask for.
Work First is a program typically that is within the state that's connected to the unemployment agency.
Unemployment.
It's the unemployment agency. Typically, when you go on unemployment, you have to register for the Work First service program in
Oh, okay.
order to register and say that you've been looking for a job. But they
Okay.
also have an extension of that where they have different grants, and
Okay.
different programs that may do additional trainings and things of that nature. Mhm.
I really like that. I had never heard of that before, but I'm going to look for that. And for those of you who are watching, if you haven't heard of it, I'll find it. I will have it up on our website along with the onetonline.org. Was it .org, Kiara?
Yes, yes, that's
Okay.
mhm.
Along with that. I mean, the more resources people have, if they have grit, they're going to chase
Right,
after
they're
them.
gonna
They're going to
follow
go
up.
after them. They're going to use
Absolutely.
them. So
Mhm.
thank you so much for that. We don't have but a few minutes left, and what I would love to do is just have you, either one of, or both of you, to share just some final thoughts for people who may be anxious during this time. You know, I know that we run into people who are afraid to do certain things because they don't know what the future holds. And that holds you back sometimes. They get paralyzed because of this anxiety. I spoke to a young lady who is 52, I think she said she was. She's not old enough to retire, but she is really holding her breath every day because she believes she's going to lose her job.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering, instead of being paralyzed, well, people can be proactive, true? What are some proactive steps that maybe they could start taking?
I think it's very true that people can be proactive during this
Mhm.
time. I
Mhm.
think that along with the grit, right?
Yeah.
You think about what is it easy to put effort into, and it's things that you're passionate about, right?
Mhm.
Everybody, it doesn't feel like work, it doesn't feel right. So when, even if you haven't identified what that particular career is or skill set is or day-to-day activity that you can be passionate about, start to research, start to look into it. Use these resources like the websites,
Mhm.
YouTube videos,
Mm.
TikTok, Instagram. There's always someone talking about what they do somewhere online, right? And
Mhm.
there are people that are very passionate that will give you all of the insight for free, right? Because, half the time, especially with YouTube, right? I mean, just anything you can think of, someone's talking about it on YouTube, right? So it's taking the time to um release some of the anxiety through action, right? Like if you have something else to focus on, something positive to focus on, this is what I might want to do next. This is where I want to research. These are skills that I might want to increase. I want to see if there's a grant out there for people who might need to do this type of role, right? You won't have time to worry about the what ifs if you're using that
Mhm.
time and putting it into making
Yeah.
your next move, right? So
Yeah.
I think that that is something that is, solely beneficial because at the core of it, you're leveling yourself up, right? In whichever way, even in the tiniest bit, right? And that's something that you can be proud of and will definitely help you moving forward.
That was great. Thank you so much. You
Mhm.
must take after your mother. Patience.
I
You
love
probably
it.
take after your mom too.
I do, I do. I'll say one thing is I always tell people that keep a notebook and keep your resume updated. Write down your accomplishments because when it's time to update your resume, you go blank. So keep it updated consistently, keep it going, stay active. But as a person that recently felt that angst,
Mm.
um, I know that and I don't want to get emotional, but it's hard not to feel anxious in this time in this world. So the only thing that you can do to not feel anxious, to me, is to really give it to God and pray.
Mm,
Yes.
absolutely.
And I mean, you can do everything else, but to be prepared.
Yeah.
You can never, but the main thing that you really have to do is pray and
Yeah.
surround yourself with people that are positive because what's going to happen is going to happen.
Yeah.
Stay prayed up, stay prepared, stay
Right.
in your peace, stay what you have to do because
Right.
it's going to happen irregardless. Be prepared for it, but really just pray because that's the only way to take that angst out of it. Because, like I said, I felt that, and anyways, I'm not going to get emotional because Kara knows that I am not the best when I get to crying. So I just think that you really do have to, everything Kira says, make yourself more attractive for what the next journey will be because every book has chapters in it and your next chapter might be the most juiciest chapter and it might bring something new and exciting, so just be
Mhm.
ready and prepare for it. Yep.
I think that is beautiful. That is what we will close out on. That word. Trust, hope, pray. That is wonderful. Thank you so much. I want to thank both of you for your time. I think that we have some wonderful nuggets, and we will just keep people apprised of these resources that they can use and utilize and hope and pray. Faith. It's a wonderful, wonderful gift from God. Faith. I thank you both. I love you both. If there's anything that I can do for you and you can pay me for it, I would love to do it. So,
I love it.
Kiara Jackson, Patience Thomas. I want to remind everybody that Shabak is having their career fair at 3600 Bright Seat Road at the FBCG Ministry Center. Please join us if you can. Ladies, I love you. Thank you.